Welcome, everyone in the United States, Canada, and around the world to another episode of It's a Wrap with Rap, the podcast of overcomers and useful information to better our daily life and mental well being. I'm your host, Ron Rappaport. I would like to thank all of our great listeners, our YouTube viewers on the podcast channel, It's a Wrap with Rap, the podcast uncut, and our sponsors and supporters for making the podcast such a success. Besides being heard on all major platforms throughout the world, the podcast may also be accessed from our website. It's a wrap with rap.com, where you can find all the episodes, previews of future episodes, the podcast book nook, showcasing many of the books our guests have authored, and a link to subscribe to the podcast newsletter, as well as products and services offered by our sponsors. My guest today is Dr. Philip Agrios. Dr. Agrios is a self-sabotage specialist, CEO and founder of Transcend Now, and the creator of the T Now method. He's also a doctor of chiropractic, functional medicine practitioner, business consultant, best-selling author of his book, Life's One Law, Nature's Blueprint for Repeatable Success in Life and Business, and international speaker. According to Dr. Agrios, there is only one thing standing between us and the life we want to live, and that is ourselves. After decades of research and personal experiences filled with many tragic events, he has discovered a mechanism he calls the inborn sabotaging trait, which is an inherited trait that hinders personal and business success. He is here to tell us about the T Now method to identify the sabotaging trait and shut it off and help us on our journey to attain a life of optimal health, wealth, and happiness. Welcome, Dr. Agrios, to the podcast.
Hi, Ron. Thank you so much. I appreciate inviting me on. Thank you.
Well, it's a pleasure to have you. Now, this is a podcast of overcomers, and you certainly overcame as many obstacles that were placed before you. Now, to get a good audience perspective about you, let's start with your many years, I think it was 35 to be exact, as a practicing doctor of chiropractic. Tell us about the practice you built in those years and the life issues that occurred to lead to the loss of the business, all only in your late 30s.
So, yes, I started as a sports chiropractor. I was doctor for the United States powerlifting team and other different national events, teams, as well as local teams, Pop Warner, things like that. And during my time, I started to become disabled and had a chronic illness. So I afterwards became a functional medicine doc that mainly focused on thyroid and autoimmune disease. And during my time as practicing, I always wondered why certain things were going well or not going well in my practice and my family lives, as well as my patients. And I happened to stumble across this particular trait. But during that time, this wasn't just, I found something a year ago and let's just go for it. When you find something that no one else discovered, you have to go through some major things, in my opinion, in order to draw it out. And as you stated that, yeah, I lost my practice. I was on disability. I had a thing called thoracic outlet syndrome, which caused weakness and numbness down both my arms. I had carpal tunnel in both hands. And I would get out of bed like I was walking on glass. It was that painful. And I was in my late 30s. And during that time, I just couldn't practice anymore. So I had a multidisciplinary clinic. I had medical doctors working for me, and also we had a 3,000 square foot clinic. And things just started to go downhill for me, and not only on the physical end, but also legally. We had it all kind of started from a false accusation from an insurance company that three things were going to happen. I was going to lose my license. I was going to jail for fraud, and I had to pay back 3 times of what I had, what they gave me. And as I said, it was a false accusation. But for a few years of lawsuits and all this stuff, they showed there was nothing wrong. Everything was fine. Nothing ever happened to my license. But the stress was tremendous that it caused this chronically illness within myself that I lost my practice. I actually had to shut my practice down after 15 years. And it was like, now what? And during that process, I was able to kind of dive deeper into this trait that I discovered and kind of led me to where I am and where I am now.
Now, you decided to reopen another practice, which led you to do that. What led you to do that? And was it a different type of practice?
So after my practice, I sold my practice to my competitors, and during that process, I had to market for them. It was kind of a interactive type of thing. I couldn't just leave after a year. And after a while, by using what I was discovering along with the chiropractic and the sports medicine background that I had, I was able to get myself back practicing again. And I started practicing with them. And then from there is where I really started to get into chronic health because I was supposed to have surgeries and never practice again and be disabled kind of a guy. And when I was able to get and overcome this, it was to me said, you need to start doing for others who have chronic disease. And I started going down that road. And I started utilizing this discovery with my chronically ill patients, and I was getting very high success rates.
So you never really had the surgeries.
No, no.
Wow.
When I knew the success rates were like under 40%, 30, I was like, I'll take my chances. I'll do what I have to do to get myself better.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now, how did you come across or discover the self-sabotaging trait we have, and how did you prove it exists?
Yeah, it wasn't just one type of like, oh, I found it. It was a conglomeration of different things that I was looking at. It all started from discovering the blueprint that nature uses to come back from her storms, and it's 6 steps. And I realized those same 6 steps are the same 6 steps that solve our own personal and business problems. So I started really looking at these steps. I then realized if I took the opposites and I put them together, it actually created 3 basic principles of the universe. And I call them the director, the supplier, and the communicator principles, because that's all we do as humans, as well as the galaxies and the atoms, which is we direct, we supply, and we communicate. And then I started to really look at that in the body and how all this started to work. And it came across after working with many of my patients and family and things like that. I started to consistently see this pattern that these particular traits were within us. And then I realized that within us is that everything that we do is all about direction, communication, and supply. And then I realized that when I took these 3 traits and I placed them in a particular sequence, I realized there was only 6 types of human behavior. So there's really only 6 people in the world. And then I started to really start to ask questions and research this out with thousands and thousands of people over 30 years. And we're able to actually prove that this sequence is what you use to protect yourself when you go into self-sabotage.
Okay, so in other words, we're protecting ourselves.
So self-sabotage is just self-protection. So
So
when you
almost
really,
almost like being in pain, because if you think about it, pain, you're really protecting whatever is painful.
absolutely, that's why you can't move well, or you
Right.
can't get out of the bed, or things like that. And that's where I was looking at it with my chronically ill patients was that, for instance, when people who come to me and go, I had a pizza, you're going to kill me. And I'm like, what you do now? Well, I said, how many days have you been in pain? And they were like 4. I said, I'm glad you had the pizza. Okay. It kind of reinforces it, but I'm really curious. What happened before that triggered you to go eat that pizza when you subconsciously knew you're going to have 4 days of pain? And those 4 days of pain were less painful than dealing with your trigger. And then we realized that when they had this particular stressful situation, whether it was physically or emotionally, they would then use this inborn sabotaging trait, which led them to their numbing agents. And then when the trigger happened again, and we gave them what we call the antidote, which is the exact solution to neutralize your saboteur, this inborn sabotaging trait, we found 2 things happened. They lessened their numbing agents or they stopped them. And that was very intriguing for me. And we would have this repeatable success over and over again. And then I realized that my business my patients who were business owners were also making major breakthroughs in their business, and I never thought about using it in business.
Right.
So, I was getting referrals all around the world from business owners to help them through this, and that's what led me to realize that it's not only working on our personal life, it also works in our professional life.
So it also works in the business arena.
Well, I'll tell you one thing on top of that. Your business, any business owner out there or executive or anybody you work for a business has its own inborn sabotaging trait. So we actually show our business owners how they actually subconsciously sabotage the business by enhancing their saboteur to the business's saboteur. And that's how we've helped many companies turn around very quickly.
So this trait that you explained, can you kind of tell us kind of what is it and does everybody have it?
Yes, but through my research, I found that everybody's born with this because it's a protective trait. It's there to protect you. See, when you release your personal professional power and you hit that wall, that saboteur kicks in to protect you. Because as you start to wanting the success and you're going towards it, as you start to get closer and closer to it, you actually subconsciously get more uncomfortable. So it's harder on a subconscious level, knowing that if I actually achieved my success, it's harder to achieve it as well as to sustain it. So I go back doing what I'm doing: imposter syndrome, procrastination, anxiety, depression, all the other things that we do to protect ourselves from the very thing that we truly want, because on the subconscious level, it's more painful. So the T now method, the T stands for transcend. We help people transcend immediately their adversities by helping them to understand how this inborn sabotaging trait is affecting them on a personal and professional level, and how to use what we call the antidote, which is the exact opposite behavior, which immediately helps them not to self-sabotage themselves. And we prove it over and over again.
So what did you find are the reasons for the trait? Like, for
Yeah.
example,
So, for example,
maybe past happenings or something like that.
yeah. So there are three basic I found that there are actually three basic fundamental reasons why we self-sabotage, why we
Okay.
self-protect. The
Okay.
first one is that you've had success before
Yeah.
and then you lost it. So those of you who are business owners, you've had success in business and something happened and you lost it, and you ever get to that success again, subconsciously, if you lose it, it's more painful. Or if you ever had a great, beautiful relationship and someone died or they left you, now to ever get to that love again and lose it again is more painful. So we settle and we never get to that point. So the first one is when you've had success and you lost it. So you never want to get to that
So we
point.
don't want to try it again.
No, because
We're afraid.
subconsciously it's too painful.
Yeah. Okay.
The second is sidestepping what's necessary. So I have to get on this podcast and listen to Ron and
Yeah.
learn something. I have to read a book. I got to go back to school. You know what? There's some great new shows on Netflix. I'm going to binge watch those. And then I promise I'll go back and start listening to Ron and everybody else. That's not going to happen. So
Right.
to actually do what's necessary to get to that level of success, we don't do. The
Okay.
third one is more success equals more pain. So I've had many business clients will come on and goes, "No, that's all I need to do is get more clients and all this stuff." And I said, "Look, if you got more clients, you can't handle them." So have you in your own business, have you ever had a great month and the next month it was horrible?
Yeah.
Right. What happened was you had such a great month that the success was so overbearing, could overwhelming. Maybe you had too many people you couldn't service, or now you're overworking on things you've been hating, or you didn't have it automated. You don't have enough employees. So actually, more success will cause more pain. So what you do is you never get to that point again, and then you stop that situation. So again, those are the three fundamental reasons why we self-sabotage. You've had success before and you lost it. Sidestepping sidestepping the necessary things to do to get to that success, or you've had success and you've actually caused more pain by having too much success because you weren't ready for it.
Okay. So does it show up the same ways in everyone? And can you have more than one trait?
So, with those three traits, we have all three within us. We have the director, the supplier, and the communicator. In this particular protective sequence, it's made up of three different sections: your superpower, then your mediator trait, which is your bridge between the superpower and the saboteur. So think about of a seesaw, right? The two people on both ends. So one kid's up in the air, the other one's on the ground. The one that's in the air, look at it as your superpower. This is what you use. This is your go-to, right? This is my strength. I go to this. But what happens is many times it's your superpower actually trips you up. For instance, have you ever had know a salesperson that talked themselves out of a sale? Right? They talked a lot.
Huh. Sure.
Why? Now, I work with a lot of VP of sales and I tell them, hey, what do you do? And the majority of times,
The It's a Wrap with Rap podcast. Distinguished guest and author John Jay has written his just released book, Nanette's War. The book is a true story of a young Jewish girl coming of age in France during World War II as the Holocaust approaches. The girl, Nanette Dreyfus, belonged to one of the most influential Jewish families in Paris, second only to the Rothschilds. Her family social circle ranged from Albert Einstein to Colette. All that privilege counted for nothing when the Nazis arrived, as the family was high up on their list of targets. Inspired by diary entries, family papers, photo albums, newspaper clippings, notices, testimony from relatives, and correspondence from friends, and most importantly, conversations the author had with Nanette before she passed, the book narrates the family's fall from grace alongside the creeping understanding of the German friendly Vichy government's collaboration with the Nazis. Through Nanette's eyes, we witness how it all unfolded, from the anti Semitism on the school playground, sometimes even from her own teachers, to Nanette's first crush under a false identity. Woven into the political backdrop of a nation turning inward on itself, this is the story of a life once filled with riches becoming rootless, where friends were left behind and politicians legislated their own people out of existence, and to their deaths, culminating in what we now know as the Holocaust. The author, John Jay, himself a child of Jewish survivors, is a master storyteller presenting us with a psychological narrative of getting by, getting along, and not getting caught. The book is a story of grit and girlhood set against a dark time of deportation. Nanette's War is available from Amazon, Books and Noble, and wherever books are sold.
they'll say they need a communication um, course. And I go, no, that's the last thing they need. That's their superpower. What's happening is their saboteur. They may be scattered all over the place. They're really not focused. They don't have a script. They're going here and tangenting all over the damn place. They're scattered. The other one may be they don't feel as valuable. So now they overtalk to show people how valuable they are, which actually devalues them in the first place. So that's why they overtalk. When we have that particular sequence come to us, we then show them how, by using the antidote, it actually allows them to communicate much more effectively. And then the seesaw starts to balance out very quickly. So that's a particular situation with that. You have people that are overthinkers. You ever people that overthink too much and they
Sure.
just get in their thoughts over and over again? Well,
Yeah.
because it's not because they're overthinking that's the major problem. It is because their saboteur is not allowing them to disconnect from their thoughts or make a decision. It's not allowing them to value what they already came up with, so they have to become more perfect and more perfect. So by focusing on the saboteur and understanding why their superpower is taking over, and by using what we call that antidote, again, it starts to immediately balance out, and they start seeing that they don't have to overthink so much. They'll act before they think. They will feel and start feeling differently before they think, instead of thinking and then not acting. Does that make sense a little bit?
Yeah. So, Dr. Agris, does the trait change at all in one's lifetime?
No, that's one of the things I realized because I've been working with people for 30 years, right? And I have those people come back to me, whether they're old patients or friends or whomever, relatives. And they'll come back to me and they'll go, hey, I'm going through this. And I'm like, it's your saboteur. And then you're right. And that same situation that I helped them with years ago is still showing up because, again, you don't get rid of this trait. It's your protector. So obviously, I show them you're getting to the point of being uncomfortable. So your trait's kicking in to protect you. So what do you got to do? We have to use your antidote. By using the antidote, now they're able to move forward and going to slowly, it depends on who it is, right? They'll immediately get into it and they'll deal with what has to be done, or they'll know what path to go into and may go a little bit slower in that aspect of it. So again, it all depends on which sequence that person has. But see, once I know your sequence, I can tell you everything, why you did what you did in the past, why you're doing it now, and why you'll continue doing it. So imagine if you have children, knowing their sequence, you'll know exactly why they're doing what they're doing. Your spouse, your business partner, whomever, even potential clients. When you understand a potential client's sequence, you'll know why they actually are resisting your sale. So in that case, you can now understand people. So instead of judging them, you now have compassion for them, and it changes the dynamic of that relationship.
Gotcha. Now, you discovered this. Are you teaching any others, practitioners out there to deal with this like you are? Or
So
are you the only one?
I'm the only one at this time. We are in the process of doing certifications.
Okay.
One of the things, the reason why it's taking so long is because I really want to make sure the marketing for other people that works. I hear consistently from coaches, yeah, I took this course. I'm great with this, but I have no one that I can, they don't market well, so they can't use it. And I don't want to just take someone's money. I want to take that, let them use this, and really be able to market that. So I just found a great marketing company. We're working on this. And once I feel that we can do this for other people,
Yeah.
then we'll start certifying it. But the people that are coming on now, we have a lot of coaches, and they use it here and there for themselves while they're using their own techniques and what they've learned. But yeah, we've seen tremendous changes with people just using some of that after they have taken our courses.
So we can look forward to that. Okay. What are the subtle and the not so subtle signs and behaviors of individuals self-sabotaging their lives? Can you give us some examples of that?
Yeah. So there are basically only three saboteurs out of 7, 8 billion people. Only three.
Wow.
Okay. And that's why I tell for years and years, like, this can't be this simple. That's why I went out to try to disprove it. Going, this can't be this simple. And for these years, yeah, that's why I called it a law, because it works 100% of the time.
Yeah.
So in one of the saboteurs is a person that's mainly scattered. They're all over the place. They wing things. They have a hard time focusing and continue and following through and actually continue finishing a task. Okay. So
Okay.
that's kind of one person. The other
Okay.
one is a person who overly gives. They have a hard time saying no to people. They will focus on everybody else's feelings instead of their own. But people take advantage of their kindness so they can get upset. So in that particular situation, not only are they overgiving, but after they've been taken advantage of, they can go to the other extreme and not give and then say, no, forget about you. You've taken advantage of me. Get away from me. And then maybe a little bit later, they'll start feeling guilty and then they'll go back and overly give. So that particular person is always having a difficult time to know the balance between giving and taking for themselves, because they feel that it's selfish. The first one that I talked about, they can get very scattered, but they can then get really focused. They have like a time distortion. Like, hey, honey, I'll be out in 5 minutes, and 5 hours later they emerge. Okay.
Yeah.
So they can go back between scatteredness and hyper focus, but always leaning to that scatteredness. The third one is the person that doesn't really express themselves. They have a hard time verbally expressing themselves. They have a fear of confrontation because they don't want to feel stupid or embarrassed. So they keep to themselves and they listen too much. So they don't express their brilliance to people. And if you piss them off, it takes a long time to get back in their graces. So those are the three the base saboteurs. And then when we take those three traits and place them in a sequence, that protective sequence, we now know this is how they deal with challenges, and now we'll know exactly how to help them to overcome those challenges and move forward for the rest of their life. So they really only need to focus on one thing for the rest of their lives, and that's it. Never changes. Like DISC and Myers-Briggs, you have to take those tests, once a year or whatever, because it changes. This never changes, and that's where it took me such a long time to really realize that this is what we're born with, and this is how we deal with our traumas and our challenges.
Is self-sabotage, some people out there in the audience are probably thinking, is it the same? If you are enjoying listening to or viewing the podcast, we would appreciate you spreading the word by sharing the podcast to your family and friends. Please visit the podcast website. It's a rapwithrap.com, where you can find all the episodes, previews of future episodes, and the podcast book nook, showcasing many of the books our guests have authored, and a link to subscribe to the podcast email list, as well as products and services offered by our sponsors. Is fear of success?
That's a really great question. Fear of success is just a secondary emotion. For instance, it's like guilt, right? Anybody can feel guilt. The question is what is the true reason for that? So one of the things that I discovered was that each saboteur has two base fears. So there's no longer, when people take the course, that there's no longer the fear of success or the fear of failure, which is vague, right? They now know exactly on a subconscious level, these are my two fears, and these are my two specific antidotes that I can use to neutralize any fear. So everybody can have that fear of success or the fear of failure. The question is once they understand that sequence, they understand how to move forward, it now knows exactly why they're not hitting that success, because they're just protecting themselves.
So, what are the main self-saboteurs you have found that affect us, and what is the process to identify the specific saboteur for each individual? Is there some sort? What is the process?
So, in whether or not people go through our membership or they go through our coaching program, that is a one, with dealing with me specifically, we give them a 9-question quiz, and that 9-question quiz allows them to do that. Now, I used to give this for free. And what we found out was people were taking it incorrectly. They were getting incorrect answers, or they went, oh, this is cool, and never used it because they thought it was too simple. So we stopped doing that and found this was a such much more effective way to do this, because it was enabled the people to understand exactly what this is and how to move forward with it.
Now, tell us about what you have, I guess, copyrighted, the T now method to switch off the trait, and how does it work?
So let me give an example. You ever see the domino masters set up this whole domino effect, right?
Yeah,
All these, how many thousands or whatever.
yeah,
And what happens? They push this one domino and goes, right? And
yeah.
let's say balloons are released. Well, what's the last thing you see? The balloons.
Right.
That's your imposter syndrome, your anxiety, your depression, your over talking, your scatteredness, whatever. So what do? We take our coping methods and put them where? We put them on the balloons, not the one domino that started it all. So what's easier? Hold down all the balloons and stop pushing that one domino. That one domino is your inborn sabotaging trait that you were born with, that causes every negative emotion that you experience, that leads to whatever reaction that you will display at that moment in time. So what happens is when you push that domino one way and release the balloons, you go down the road of desperation and frustration. But that same domino, if you push it the other way, releases another whole domino reaction. And let's say it's fireworks. And that's your inspiration, motivation, and growth. So what happens is that when you use that antidote, it is actually impossible to self-sabotage yourself, because you're actually doing the exact opposite behavior.
Okay, that makes sense. That definitely makes sense. Now, can you permanently eliminate the trait, and is it ever too late to stop your self-sabotaging behavior?
When people self-sabotage, I congratulate them. And they look at me like I'm nuts. And I'm like, you're protecting yourself. Let's get excited. You know why I'm congratulating you? And they go, no. I said, you were just hitting that point of being uncomfortable, that you just go a little bit further and you're in that success mode, but you hit that wall and you're backing out. So let's get excited when you're self-protecting because you're ready to make a breakthrough. You're ready to expand that, right?
Hmm.
So you never get rid of this trait. It's like your thyroid, right? Your one part of your brain called the hypothalamus controls and regulates your thyroid, right? So why would I want to get rid of that and just let the thyroid just throw out all this too much thyroid or not enough? So it's always constantly giving it in balance. So the saboteur you never get rid of. Even if you could, it would not be a good idea because you're getting
Right,
rid of your protection.
right.
So we help people to learn how to dance with it.
Okay. Okay. So you're tweaking things.
Yeah, and
Okay.
it's a little bit here, a little there, and then just that little bit of feeling that wow, I can do this.
Yeah.
Because we always tell people when they discover, they always just get their antidote immediately and their saboteur. Start using it 10 to 15%. We're not expecting you, that person who doesn't talk, expect to be a Gabby in a few minutes, right? Start to slowly talk in other things, the other person getting more aware and different things like that. And they start building that confidence and then start seeing the results. And it all depends on what's going on, right? In your business, you might have some major things that's happening that's going to take some time before you see those results because you did such a great job of causing a lot of damage in that area. You know, it's like having a paper cut, right? Having a paper cut, I'm not going to bandage this and keep it protective. I'm just going to go about my day. But if I have a gash, I'm going to make sure it's protected and it's going to take more time to heal. So
Right.
we've had people use their antidote and major things happen within 1 to 2 hours. And then other people took a couple, 2, 3, 4 months because they had to consistently do certain things so that they could heal that business or their relationship, their health, or whatever they were causing themselves to protect themselves from.
So how can one find their own personal antidote to the trait?
So we have 2 ways, well, actually 3 ways to do that. We have a membership that people can take a course, a little mini 40-minute course. They get their inborn sabotage and trait and antidote. I go and speak to different corporations or businesses and do workshops. Or we have our coaching program. We have a 6-month program we dive much deeper into this than we do with the other with the membership or the workshop, and go deeper and deeper into a lot of the discovery that I've made that I haven't really even told you about.
Right, right.
So yeah, those are the 3 ways we help people to understand this, and because there's nothing like this in the world. And that's why people love what they're doing and why they're taking it, because they're finding something they've never seen before. And it's such a different way. And a lot of people say, well, it's just mindset. And I said, no. What's happening is a third of the population needs mindset. The other 2/3 don't. That's why a lot of times mindset doesn't work for them, because they need something else. Some people need what I call feel set. They need to learn how to deal with their feelings. Other people need to work with their heart set, which is how they work with their actions and start initiating things more often. So depending on your sequence, I will talk to you differently. For instance, if you had a significant other and we then find your 2 sequences and you having a situation, I will talk to you in certain words that's relating to you on a subconscious level, and then talk different words to your partner so that you two can then eliminate any conflict that might be there and start to work together more effectively. And then once you understand your partner's words, you can start using theirs. What happens is people use their own words to other people, and the majority of times they don't get it. So,
Right.
but when you understand that sequence with your child, we've had parent-child relationships tremendously shift, even with teenagers. and help them have better relationships because now they understand why their teenager or child is doing what they're doing because it allows them to stop saying, do this, because that's what will make them successful, not necessarily that child.
Yeah, that kind of led to my next question. Can parents identify the trait in their children?
We've had uh, clients who've had 4 to 5.
Dr. Scott Geise, a podcast guest, has written a must-read story about a small-town dentist and his battle against an unjust legal system. In the blink of an eye, Dr. Geise went from a respected small-town dentist to a convicted felon. His crime? Trying to provide the best care for his patients. In this It Could Happen to You story is a chilling account of how an all-American success story became a nightmare of false accusations, legal manipulation, and ultimate betrayal. With raw honesty and dark humor, the author recounts his journey from the heights of professional success to the depths of a federal prison cell. This gripping memoir exposes the shocking flaws in our justice system where innocence is no defense against the crushing machinery of federal prosecution. This story of Dr. Geis is a stark warning in a world where plea bargains have replaced trials that anyone can become a criminal overnight. The book exposes how easily innocence can be buried under the weight of incompetence and the system's thirst for conviction. Every business owner and medical professional should read this book. This It Could Happen to You is more than just a cautionary tale. It is a testament to resilience, a father's love for his children, and one man's unwavering determination to reclaim his life and reputation. After learning the difficulties of restoring one's stature in the community after an injustice due to the flawed legal system, readers will be inspired to question the system and stand up for justice. Dr. Geis's insider perspective on both the medical and legal professions offers a unique glimpse into two worlds most of us only see from the outside. This It Could Happen to You story is a must read for anyone who believes in the American dream and anyone who fears it might become a nightmare. Because, as this story proves, it really could happen to you. The book is available from Amazon.
Children. I even had one parent who had 5 autistic children, as well as an Asperger husband. And through the work, she was able to understand each and every one of them and deal with them differently and saw tremendous results by just using and doing things differently and by using different words
Mhm.
and knowing why they were doing what they're doing and then be able to help guide them during that time. I can tell you a little quick story if we have
Yeah,
time.
yeah, please.
So I was at a workshop, and one of the managers came up to me and said, "Look, my son's always upstairs playing video games. I can't get him downstairs to interact with our family." So I asked him a few questions. I ascertained his son's sequence, and I told him exactly what to do. Within less than a week, his son was downstairs interacting with the family, and their relationship skyrocketed over 2 months. And the reason was because then he realized he was the one pushing his son back in his room. His son was a particular sequence because he was making fun of him and doing the things because that motivated him as a kid. But it did the exact opposite to his child. But once he understood how to talk to his child and how to do things, it started doing great. Now, here's the kicker. Your professional and your personal life are one. When you use your saboteur, it affects your personal and your professional life instantaneously. And when you use your antidote, the same thing. He started to realize he was doing the same thing in his business. As he started to do some of the things that I was telling him to do with his personal life and his business started to skyrocket and his relationships with his employees and his customers started to change.
So he might have been chasing people away from his business the
He
same way he
was.
was chasing away his son from the dinner table, put it that way.
Absolutely.
Okay.
It was a mind blown to him. And we
Yeah.
see this consistently thousands of times with people, and they realize, oh my God. Now, they may be doing something totally different in their personal life, and it looks totally different in their professional life, but
Yeah.
it's the exact same sequence. It's just the opposite effect. So therefore, they think they're doing it differently. It's the same thing.
How can people help someone else who is self-sabotaging?
Number one, they have to not to tell them what to do. Okay.
Okay.
One of the
Okay.
things you have to realize with people is that they don't want to be told what to do, a majority of them, right?
Right.
So at that moment, so let's take the typical husband-wife situation.
Okay.
Wife starts to tell her story. What's the guy going to do? He's going to do what? He wants to give her a solution majority of times, right?
Right.
So in there, I say to them, the first question they need to ask that person is, are you venting or do you want a solution or both? By actually asking questions of what that person wants, instead of assuming what that person wants, that's where the conflict comes into play. As they start to answer and tell them, I just want to vent, then that guy's got to shut his mouth, tighten up his toes and his hands, and not say a word and
Right.
go, Okay. If she says, I want a solution, then by her telling him, he doesn't go, hey, this is what you got to do. What you do is say, okay, in this situation, what would you do with this? Would you do this, this, and this? And that what happens is that person is telling this story because they are trying to protect themselves. They're talking to people going, what should I do so I don't get hurt or whatever result they're trying to avoid? So by actually asking questions, you can then become a little bit more understanding to them, more compassionate to them, what's going on, instead of just telling them what you think. So once you understand the person's sequence, oh my goodness, you should see some major shifts. I had a business owner one time. He had his partner and his lawyer at each other's throats. And he's like, I don't know what to do. So I asked him a few questions. We ascertained the lawyer as well as his business partner's sequence, as well as his. And because I knew their sequences, I told them exactly what to do and why they were at each other's throats. Within an hour meeting, they were all on the same page. And he came back, goes, I can't believe this happened. I said, once you understand why the person's protecting themselves, I said, that lawyer and that business partner of yours were just protecting themselves. And if you got into play, then you were trying to protect the business. So as he understood everything, and they had no idea what he was doing, it caused the negotiations to go flawless.
Okay. Great. Yeah. Now, tell us what prompted you to write your book. I hope this is right. It's titled Life's One Law. And what do you hope the reader takes away from reading it?
That book I wrote in order to get my discovery out there, to copyright it at least, but also to help people to see what we had and how powerful it was. That was written about 5 years ago. I'm working on a second book right now, but in there is the blueprint that I started with. And then near the end, we start talking about the saboteur and everything else like that. So people can use this to understand the sequences of how nature comes back from their storms and how we can do the same thing over and over again. There's questions and answers that they can go through and help themselves with that. But the even quicker and most more powerful way is through our courses, because now we do is now 5 years later, we're realizing that the saboteur and the antidote are the more powerful focuses instead of the blueprint. But the blueprint is it's beautiful how nature did what it did.
So tell us about your practice, Transcend Now, and the services you offer and the issues that can be addressed, such as teen behavior, marriage issues, etc.
Yeah. So with any type of relationship, the saboteur, if it feels some type of feeling threatened for some reason, and you can love the person, it could be the person that you love the most, but you get into a tiff or some type of argument. At that moment, you are protecting yourself from each other. So when you realize that, and by understanding why the person's reacting the way they are and how you're reacting, it can help in so many different ways, whether it's marriages. We've helped marriages on the brink of divorce. I mean, like with lawyers ready to go. Uh, parent-child relationship, teenagers, helping them to understand helping the parent to understand what's really going on with them, even though a lot of times I don't know, or there's nothing wrong with me. And by understanding why they're reacting the way they do based on their sequence, when you know their sequence, you can see major shifts in the relationship go
Okay.
pretty well. Your health, why you are eating or drinking or doing things that you want to get better, but they consistently come back and keep you in that state of feeling lousy, inflamed, because that state is less painful than doing what's necessary to get out of that inflammatory state into a healthier state. So we've had veterans, PTSD, from 5 to even 12-year tours with PTSD do really, really well. One gentleman who had 12 tours, within 3 weeks, he was able to go out dancing with his wife for the first time, and
Wow.
that was incredible.
Yeah.
And he's a high producing CEO as well, and we saw dramatic changes in his business as well with that. So no matter what the relationship, no matter it's the relationship between you and yourself, with you and your business, within your employees, clients, family members, people that you can't stand, whatever the case may be, that saboteur, when you are out of any type of, not in the flow, when things are feeling resistive or stressful, you're just protecting yourself. And ask yourself this question: why am I protecting myself at this moment in time? Why am I protecting myself at this moment in time? Take a deep breath. It's okay. Do I need to disconnect from this person? Do I need to kind of, understand where I'm at, how I'm feeling, how I'm acting, how I'm thinking? And by understanding the antidote, we've helped people tremendously with so many different conditions get back control of who they are.
Wow. That sounds great. Dr. Agrios, how can people contact you?
They can go to the tnowmethod.com. It's called the tnowmethod.com. And there they have a couple of choices. If they're a business owner, executive, entrepreneur, or career driven person, they can click on one button and watch a 12-minute video about which goes a little deeper in what we do. Or if they're not, they can go into the membership and look a little bit more deeper into that and see if that's something they would like to experience. So it's the tnowmethod.com.
Okay, I also had transcendnow.biz. Is that
That's our website that is being that they can go there too. But
okay?
this is a new way to bring people into how to experience the T Now method much more effectively. But the transcendnow.biz, it does have my book there. It has some other things there as well.
Okay.
They can go to either one. But the tnowmethod.com gives them more access into the membership as well.
Okay, we're going to put that in the podcast
Sure.
notes. And for those out there struggling uh, to overcome their own personal challenges and hurdles before them, you as a survivor, what advice can you give them, to get through it?
First thing to do, just say, it's okay. If you're listening to this right now, just say, it's okay 3 times. That's kind of sets it apart. Knowing that whatever you're going through, it's a benefit for you. And I know you're screaming at me, telling me, probably calling me a lot of names right now, but I've worked with thousands of people. I've never met anybody who's not gone through anything that there was a benefit and there is a detriment at the same time, right? When things are falling apart, they're also falling together. It depends on which side you want to look at. So there is a benefit. And one of the things I tell people do is you can just find one little benefit for yourself or the other person or whatever the case may be in the past of a situation you can't let go. That finding that benefit, there's no need to forgive. There's no need to forgive yourself or them or to be forgiven because you benefited from it. So at that moment, what I teach people is that whatever is happening now is your answer, your gift. See, when I was going through all that stuff, I used to say, I wonder what gift I'm getting. I wonder what gift I'm getting. Well, this is going to be a great gift I'm going to get this time, right?
Yeah.
And then I realized I already got the gift. And it was up to me to find the benefit out of the gift. So when you are asking for whether you're praying or meditating or whatever the case may be, and something quote bad happens,
Yeah.
it's not bad. It's actually your answer to help a few things to delay. And delays don't mean denials many a times. It could help slow you down a bit so that you can kind of be able to connect to what's coming your way. Or it's giving you the ability to become more evolved and helping you to overcome that adversity so you can move forward. So I'm telling you, you can look at it as it being good, being bad, or just is. I do my best myself to look at things as just is. Do I at times go through like, what the heck is going on? Absolutely. I'm human. I tell my clients I do 90 to 95% of what I do. But that 5 to 10% when I don't go into the flow and use my antidote, I'm in protection. And it's okay. So I give myself some grace, give yourself some grace, give yourself some patience, and knowing that whatever's in your way, I promise you, when you can really look at the benefit or ask others, it's there and it's able you to move forward because when you evolve, you dissolve. They both happen at the same time. You cannot evolve without dissolving, and you cannot dissolve without evolving. They happen at the same time. Both are very important at that moment. It depends on which side you want to look at to use to move forward in that instant.
That's great advice. I love that evolve, dissolve. That's fantastic. I
Thanks.
want to thank you, Dr. Agrios, for being on the podcast and enlightening us on this subject. I wish you all the best on your work, helping people going forward. And you're always welcome to come back. I know you got a book in the works, and when that book comes out, please let me know,
Oh,
and
definitely.
we'll get you back on.
Thank you, Ron. I really had a great time. I hope this was very valuable for you and your audience. I had a blast, and thank you
Yeah.
again. It was an
Yeah,
honor.
it's very valuable, and I'm sure we'll get a lot of positive feedback. Comments and suggestions for the podcast, you can email me at it's a wrap with rap at gmail.com. Our Facebook group, it is a private group, is it's a wrap with rap. We have about 2,000 people in there. So if you want to join, you can request to join. Instagram is It's a Rap with Rap podcast. We're on X or Twitter at Rapper, WRAPPER 130. Our YouTube channel is It's a Rap with Rap, the podcast uncut. All the episodes are on YouTube. Our website is itsarapwithrap.com. I want to thank everyone for listening. I want everybody to please stay safe. And for now, it's a wrap. This podcast is being brought to you in part by the veteran-founded Hero Soap Company located in Phoenix, Arizona. In today's environment, we must be aware of the products we apply to our skin. As a two-time cancer survivor, I cannot afford to take chances, and I use these products myself. The soaps will leave you feeling clean and refreshed. All the products made by the Hero Soap Company are made in the United States with the highest quality ingredients, sourced from companies in the United States whenever possible. The products are made in small batches to ensure high quality and contain premium essential oils and fragrance. All hero soaps are created without synthetic colorants, parabens, and sulfates that are irritating to the eyes, skin, mouth, and lungs, and are cruelty-free, meaning these products are not tested on animals. Each 5-ounce bar of soap is handmade in Phoenix, Arizona, and the body wash is available in 8 ounces with such refreshing scents as lime, bourbon, and frost. You will absolutely love this soap. Please also check out their gear for sale. All the products are reasonably priced. Being veteran founded, the company understands the dedication and sacrifice that each family makes to serve their country. A portion of sales is donated back to charities such as Operation Finally Home, Operation Interdependence, and the Gary Sinise Foundation that are focused on helping veterans and our first responders. Over 1,000 bars have been sent to our deployed troops. Please check out their website, herosoapcompany.com, for pricing and a detailed description of all the products. Now, when ordering, please use the code RAP for a 10% discount. The company information will be listed in the podcast notes.